we're going to be taking a look at the new Action Alerts plugin from CDSN. This makes some pop-up alerts with the driver's number, name, and car image along, by default's the bottom left corner of the screen, but you can move it around. I'm going to have this playing in the background so it shows you a bunch of lead changes and pits and things that are happening in this replay while I talk about how to install the package. So let's go ahead and kick that off. Just like all plugins, you're going to open up that zip file. This one's really simple, just one file. It's the plugin. Extract that to your computer. Then you're going to pull up your SDK. There's some of the alerts showing there at the bottom left. You're going to go to the plugin manager under the overlay section of the settings. Open up that plugin manager, go down to import, bring in this Action Alerts plugin. Make sure it's clicked run with that blue little check mark. And again, you don't want to mess with the JavaScript with a few exceptions. I'll come back to that in just a minute. Your styling is in here, so you can move it around wherever you want. There are a couple containers, so you can actually, if you really want to get into the details, you can change some of the colors. You could change some of the specific font sizes. I've got it worked out right now where the car image is kind of cropped nice, and the names work, whether they're a shorter name that just takes a single line or a double line name that wraps around. Everything still kind of looks okay, but you can tweak that if you want. The colors are different between each type of alert, so you actually can't change those in the styling. You'll change those in the code. I'll show you that in just a moment. And then the remote component is in the usual place under the Components tab. Go down to the bottom right, click Add to Remote, and that will throw in this little guy, the Action Alerts remote, right over here. And you've got a couple options. So this shows alerts for someone getting a DQ, a meatball flag, a black flag, a slowdown for cutting the track, they're having an off-track moment, they're entering pit lane, or if there's a lead change. So all these things are just meant to keep you and your audience aware of things that are happening that might not be directly on camera. So like pit lane is a perfect one, but it's also, you can toggle each one of these on and off, whether it makes sense. Like DQ and meatball and black flag, you probably want to have those on all the time because they're pretty rare and they're important to the race narrative or the broadcast. But things like off tracks, especially at road courses, can get a little obnoxious. There's one right there. And pit lane, especially under caution, and lead changes under caution, can just kind of spam the alerts. I think the lead change maybe doesn't show under caution. It was something I was messing around with, but you can manually toggle them on and off right here. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I have pit lane and lead change set not to show up under caution, but in the replay, it's not going to do that. So if we get a caution here in this replay file, it's still going to be showing them. And then there's a button at the top to say you want them all off or all on to go really quick, or you can kind of set it up and let it ride. There's also a toggle to hide the car image if you want it to be more compact. I personally have it set up so that it perfectly matches the width of my NASCAR leaderboard and covers up the bottom 5 drivers, so it almost looks like it's part of it. It's not, so you can move it around anywhere you want, and even if you aren't showing the tower, it'll still show up. And that's pretty much it. Let's see if we can fast forward through and get a few more of these alerts to pop up while we're watching. You can see it looks like we're going through a pit cycle. There's a pass for the lead. It's green. Like I said, each alert is a slightly different color. And there comes out the caution. And there are a couple things you can tweak about this one. It's good to go out of the box, just like that. But let's say you wanted to just tweak this a little bit. There are some things you can change. If you go to the Action Alerts plugin and then to the Update tab and scroll down, you'll see there's a section here called Display Duration. And this is how long the alert stays up. And they're in milliseconds, so it's all 1,000 milliseconds per second. So for example, an off track only shows for 4 seconds because that's going to happen pretty quick and get out of the way, etc. But a DQ or a meatball or a black flag, those are more important, so they're there for 7 or 10 seconds by default, just to make sure you have time to see it and to comment on it and maybe pull up that driver live and see what's going on. But you can change all these if you want them to be longer. They're here. The other thing about this is nothing is going to overlap. So if 2 of these alerts happen at the same time, the plugin queues them up and shows the first one first and the next one. There's also a little bit of a priority kind of based on what's most important. I think lead changes are a big one and things like that. But for the most part, it's just going to queue up. So you're never going to miss an alert, and every alert is going to show for the proper amount of time based on these inputs. But you can tweak that if you want. And then as we're thinking about if you didn't like the colors, I think there's a way, let's see where it is. If you come into the update tab and scroll down, there it is. So you'll see in these lines 92 through 114, this is where all the colors and texts are set. So if you don't like the text that's being shown for a DQ, right now it says disqualified or something, it's pretty self-explanatory. You can see the header text is what you would change to change what text is shown. The theme color is what you would change to change the color of the box. The rest of it I'd probably leave alone and not worry about it. But you could also change the priority logic here, so you can see based on this list it's DQ, meatball, then black flag, and so on in terms of what's important. If there's multiple things happening at the same time, they'll all get shown. The order just decides which one gets shown first if they're happening at the same time. So you could reorder these if you wanted to, but for the most part, you're not going to have a lot of alerts happening at the same time unless you're in some sort of Armageddon figure 8 type situation. Maybe on a dirt track, you might get a lot of meatballs or something if people are getting damage, or off tracks if everyone's cutting the corner. But for the most part, I think it works pretty well. But yeah, this is a nice one. Helps me a lot during green flag pit cycles, and actually brings up the full name and number and something that the audience can really see and read. If you aren't talking about their favorite driver, they can still keep up with what's happening to these important events that are happening to any driver they care about. So hope you guys like this one. I've been using this one already. It's been a huge addition to my broadcasts. Really like it. Hope you like it too.